Welcome to Suddenly Different, where we explore stories and strategies for life when it doesn't go to plan. I'm Leigh-Anne Sharland, inviting you to join me on this journey. There's a quiet terror in not understanding what your body is doing. You can feel something's wrong. Doctors are running tests. Language like inflammation and lesions and immune response get thrown around. And meanwhile, you're still you. Just not in the same body you had last week. Today's conversation is about what happens when the immune system becomes unpredictable, when paralysis enters your life before you've had time to imagine disability at all, and definitely not as part of your identity. Brandon Parks, known to many as Professor Parks, has turned his lived experience into connection through streaming, humour, and unfiltered storytelling, with some great music, by the way. He's helping people, especially me, understand that disability is not a tragedy narrative, it's a human one. And Brandon is amazing, coming from being a normal, everyday young man to the man he is today, which is normal. I welcome to Suddenly Different, Professor Parks.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that. I appreciate that intro. That was a good little intro there.
So, all right, I've sort of indicated that there was this weird shit that happened to you.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could, in whatever terms you want to share with the audience what happened. You know, like when you first noticed there was something weird happening, and culminating to probably stupefying the medical system.
Yeah. My story is so weird. I don't have a very basic story where it's like I got in an accident or I was injured in any sort of way. I sort of just woke up like this one day. But it didn't start out that way. Me and my friends were camping and I wasn't really feeling well. I felt like sick. I felt like I needed to throw up, and that I felt almost like gravity was pushing down on me in a way that I couldn't explain. Like my legs felt like they had cinder blocks attached to them. And I was trying to figure out what was going on. And my friends were like, look, buddy, you've been drinking too much. Like, you're fine. But I felt way different than what a hangover would normally feel like. So I went to the hospital that was local to there. We were out camping way up north. And the hospital basically was like, look, man, stop partying. We did some blood work. You seem fine. Go home. So I went home, and another day went by and I really had not gotten better. If anything, I had gotten worse. So we went to another hospital, and it was sort of the same thing. It was sort of a rinse and repeat. You're 24 years old. You've been partying. Stop partying. Here's some pain medication. Go home and sleep it off. And I sort of took that as like, that's my medical help. Like, okay, they must be right. I must be fine. And maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe it's anxiety, whatever it might be. Well, that following morning, I woke up and I never walked again. That following morning, I woke up and my bowel and bladder had let loose and my legs weren't working, and everything in my life changed completely at that moment. I actually went to the hospital, a third different hospital, to where they did a spinal tap. They did MRIs and CT scans where they found elevated proteins in my spinal fluid, and they found lesions on a giant lesion on my spinal cord. And they ended up diagnosing me with an autoimmune disease called Guillain-Barré syndrome. They said that the Guillain-Barré syndrome originally came from what they think is a bacterial meningitis infection. And then my body went to go attack this bacterial meningitis, and it kicked into overdrive and started stripping my own body, whether it be the nerves and all the inside, just your body trying to attack something that's going wrong, and it ends up just going nuclear and kind of nuking your entire body, not really knowing what the issue is. So it nukes everything in sight. And because the damage was so severe, and it did take us quite a bit of time to figure out what was actually going on with me. My body was attacking itself that whole time. When I was getting sent home by these hospitals, my body's attacking itself. It's stripping my nerves and all the myelin sheath in my nerves. And then to the point where it got so bad that I actually lost connection from my brain to my spine. And then it was recovery time. Once I got the actual diagnosis of Guillain-Barré syndrome, they had said, we're going to give you something called IVIG. The big word for that is it's immunoglobulin, something along the lines of basically just to stop this attack. It's not going to cure you, but it's going to stop the autoimmune disease attack. And now it's up to your body to recover its nerves. And nerves recover about 1 millimeter a month. So you've got a long journey ahead of you here. And that was sort of where my journey started. It was when I woke up, I forgot to mention that when they ran the slew of tests, they had put me into a coma so they could do the MRIs, the blood work, the CT scans, the spinal tap, everything without me being sort of like in their way kind of thing. But when I had woken up from the coma, I was actually paralyzed from the navel down. So the attack continued to happen while I was in the coma and while I was out, and they were doing these tests. So it was a very severe attack that kind of left this residual scar on my spine. And that scar is called transverse myelitis. So in the long story short is I was diagnosed with, I had bacterial meningitis, which developed Guillain-Barré syndrome. And I recovered from Guillain-Barré syndrome well enough, but it left me a residual scar on my spine called transverse myelitis. And that's what actually makes it so I can't walk. That's why I have pain in my legs. Any signals that get sent down from my brain to my legs will hit off that scar. It's an inflammation scar, and it will send back a negative signal. Like there's pain, there's something wrong, there's pain, what's going on? And a lot of confusion going on in my body.
Yeah. And because your body was trying to save your life, wasn't it?
Yes, 100%. Right? Yeah, to fight that attack, to nuke whatever was going on. It was trying to help me, but
yeah, it was. And sometimes we get frustrated with our bodies with what they're doing when they're trying to make us rest, or they're trying, it can be really, really confusing. But one thing that I heard you say initially with the diagnosis is that you thought, or they thought or suggested that you might have anxiety.
Yeah.
It drives me batty how much the medical system are attributing everything to mental health these days, right?
Mm-hmm. It's panic attack, it's anxiety, just breathe, drink some water.
Yeah, and it's like, you get inside my body and you fucking breathe. Sorry.
Yeah, you try to fucking breathe.
Members.
No, we're
that is
totally
my first curse on Suddenly Different. But
hey, man, that just means you're comfortable with me. That's all there is to it. We're bringing out that comfortability. I
certainly am. I there for the grace of God go I, right? And I am so full since meeting you, since discovering you on Facebook and watching your YouTube videos and then speaking with you. I have lived a week of gratitude, right?
That's incredible. I'm glad that we got to talk.
Yeah, because it's just, it's amazing. Like for a young man to do some of the things you do in your social media, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, I'm just bowing, man. So before your Suddenly Different moment, like, what was an ordinary week like for you?
Honestly, before I got paralyzed, I was and I'm still kind of, I don't always like to say this, but I've always been this like pack leader within my friend group. I'm always the guy that brings people together, right? A lot of my friends wouldn't get together if it wasn't for me bringing them together, right? So I think that I was the guy that was always setting things up. I was an athlete. I played baseball my whole life. I set up the baseball team. I was the pitcher. I was the captain, and I got all my friends to come play. I worked on the road. I did road painting. So I worked in this company where I found it was a kind of a smaller company, and I had the ability to hire my own friends. So I hired all of my friends in to come work with me, and we were all working together. And I used to work really hard. Monday to Friday, I was married to the company, worked very hard, and got as much money as I possibly could so I could enjoy myself on the weekends. I was a party animal growing up. Like truly, like I got paralyzed when I was probably 2 weeks before my 25th birthday. So I was just partying, sometimes a little bit too much fun. Sometimes I get a little too crazy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that my friends, there was a couple comments where, my friends said, sometimes I've looked at you, Brandon, and I think that as much as on how unfortunate what happened to you was, it sat you down, literally and hypothetically. Like it just sat you down.
It did, but
Hmm.
it didn't turn you off, right?
No, no. And I think that's a big part of what my friends really drilled into my head when I had gotten hurt. So again, I was this party animal. I was the life of the party. I brought everybody together. And I've always been this like kind of uppity person. Like I'm fucking obnoxious. Like I'm just obnoxious and I love it, just who I am. And I like to kind of make everybody around me feel very comfortable. And when I was in the hospital, I was there for 7 months in the hospital. And every time I had a friend come visit me, one of the main comments that I remember them saying is that it's so good to see that you're still you. Like I know that you're hurting right now, Brandon. I know that what's going on with you is insane, but it's so good to see that your mind is still there, that you're still cognitively there. You're the exact same person that you always were. We're going to see what you do with this new life, man. I think a lot of people, we had a lot of question marks. We didn't know if I was walking out of that situation. We didn't know what my future has in store or had in store. But I think that my friends and my family were really happy that I was still Brandon.
Yes. Yeah. And that's like, with my condition, I wasn't fully me. I'm like 4 years in and I'm starting, there's little parts of the old Leigh-Anne coming out, but I was cognitively affected.
Mm-hmm.
And that made such a difference because I was so switched on cognitively.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was the ideas person. I was the like, keep going, push through, push through. And when your personality changes, like I remember when we were talking, you said that you were when you were in the hospital before you had the test done and got diagnosed, you were a bit psychotic because
Yeah, we're manic.
the immune system fights everything. It doesn't know where the attack is coming from. So it goes, look, I'm going to go to that brain. So you're really lucky that you are cognitively 100% you.
Yeah. There was
And
you know what? I'm really happy you mentioned that because that's a part of this my little brief story that I didn't mention. But once I got to that third hospital to get diagnosed, and we talked about this, but once I
yeah,
got to that third hospital, I was manic. When I woke up and I was paralyzed and couldn't feel my legs, I don't remember any of this. At that point, like you said, I had lost my mind. I was manic. And when I showed up to the hospital, one of the main reasons why they put me into a coma, obviously to run tests, but I was swinging. I was taking swings at doctors and nurses. I'm scared. Have bowel and bladder all over myself, right? Like I'm losing my mind. I'm 24 years old and I don't know what the hell's going on with me. So when they did wake me up from the coma, I think they were worried about my brain being affected as well. I think they were like, did his brain get messed up at all with this? And like, I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe a little bit. I think in the beginning, I was on so many drugs and medication that it
yeah.
all just felt like a haze. Everything felt like a haze. So maybe I wasn't all fully there. But like knowing you and talking to others that have dealt with cognitive issues, it's like retraining your brain. It's a brain to body connection all over again.
It is, and that's such a conscious decision. But so you went in after you were in hospital for a long time, and then you went to rehab.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. I had 7 months in the hospital and then outpatient rehab was a couple months as well.
yeah, and so that was learning to be self-sufficient, fully independent in your wheelchair.
Yeah, I think there was other stuff too. I think I really leaned in. I tried the best that I could to buy as much time as I possibly could. And with rehab and recovery and stuff like that, if you're not making noticeable gains, you kind of get pushed out for the next guy. right?
Yeah.
So I
Right.
was kind of fibbing a little bit. I was kind of like, oh, I can move this a little bit more and I can feel this. And like, oh, I kind of want to do this. And they kept extending my time. And then I got these things called KAFOs. They're like, they're leg braces, basically.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they were custom to my legs. I have them stored away, or I'd go get them for you. But they were custom to my leg to fit on there. And that bought me more time. When I said I wanted to use these KFOs to relieve pressure off my butt, and again, like good for your circulation, standing in general as a para or anybody in a wheelchair is so good for you. I bought myself more time by doing that. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, let's work with him on these. Let's
Yeah.
see about walking in these. And if he falls, let's train him how to get back up in them. And as I was doing that, I was also like, hey, like, can you prep me for my everyday life? Like, can we also get me stronger? Can we do like a bench press and show me how to work out again from a
Yeah.
chair? And like, I had some really good physio therapists and occupational therapists where they knew what my plan was. They knew that I
Yeah.
didn't have parents. They know that I don't have family. I have like cousins and aunts and uncles and grandparents, but I don't have brothers or sisters. I don't have mom or dad. So they knew that I was going into this world alone, and they wanted to make sure that I was set up as well as I possibly could. They really advocated for me very, very well. And I really appreciate them a lot. For that, I go back and I thank them constantly. I go to my old rehab and I have conversations, almost like a peer support with some of the newer
Yes.
injured people there. Like, hey, this is the I always say fresh meat. Here's the fresh meat here. And I'm coming
Yep.
to talk to you guys. And I'm someone who not only has experienced the same situation as them, but I was actually in the same facility as them. And I
Yeah.
show up with my basketball chair and I'm like, hey, look what I'm doing. Like, I drove here and I have relationships with beautiful women and I have jobs, like amazing, good paying jobs. And like, this is not your end. I promise you that this is the building blocks for your new normal. And I'd let them know, and I'm honest, that I didn't do this properly in the beginning. Like, as much as I did do my outpatient rehab, I went home and I ate cookies and ice caps and I didn't take care of myself by any means. I stayed up all night and didn't care. I never lifted a weight outside of rehab and I didn't continue my rehab after it was done. It was almost like, thank God that's over and done with. And that's not like the rest of your disabled life is rehab. The rest of it. From now
Yes.
on, it is testing your body to see how far you can take it physically, mentally, whatever it might be. Right. So that's sort of my message to anybody that's newly injured is that this is the building block to your new normal.
And you mentioned that you have like a lot of pain. So the message goes down your spine, hits the scar tissue and gets confused, and so is giving you pain messages about your legs.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it basically just, whether it be like feel, move, whatever it might be, temperature, whatever signal it's trying to send, it
Yeah.
sends back as like, there's a problem. There's something
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah. So, yeah. And so does that mean that you have to be on pretty high pain meds all the time, or?
So I originally, when I had first left the hospital, I was on every single pain medication known to man at the
Yeah.
highest dosage, and only
Yeah.
nerve pain. Like I wasn't on Oxycontin or anything codeine related, nothing
Yeah.
that would get
Good.
me high. Thank
Yeah.
God, because we don't need
Yeah.
that in our lives. But I was on every nerve pain medication known to man. And there was days where I would forget to take my pills and I would be like, I didn't feel any different. So I think
Yeah.
throughout time, I was like, hey, can we get off of this one? Hey, can we get off of this one? And it's a process. You have to wean off of it. And like that process with the dosages that I was on and the amount of pills that I was on took about 2 years to like wean off every little pill to the point where I was down to one pill and I was like, look, man, I don't think this is going to, I don't think that eliminating this last pill is going to change my life at all. So we did that. And now I'm not on any nerve pain medication whatsoever, which is like a pro and a con because yes, good. I'm not on any medication, which means there's no side effects, which is great. But I also didn't get any relief from any I have nothing to fight back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to be like, oh, my pain's acting up really bad. Like I should take one of my pills and like maybe help
Yeah.
it out a little bit, something to be able to
Yeah.
fight back. But that's not my situation. It didn't work for me. And I'm still in pain clinics and we're still going about. We tried lidocaine infusions to see if that would help, and that didn't do anything. I have a spinal cord stimulator surgically implanted into my spine. That is what has bought me my life. That thing is my lifeline, truly. Do you know what a TENS unit is by any chance?
So I'm just going to say my husband has the same equipment in his spine.
Well, he has a spinal stimulator.
Yeah, he has a spinal stimulator and he has 2 leads, and one of the leads is going up to his middle back.
Yep.
And the other one is going across sort of like in his sacral area.
Okay.
And he would be totally non-functioning. He still is on medication as well, because he's also got severe neck issues. He was in security for 40 years, and even though his workplace wouldn't acknowledge that it was a workplace degeneration issue,
Injury, yeah.
because he was in many, like grapples with unruly clients. But so I really understand the whole pain, the
Stimulator.
different ablations and the ketamine and all of that stuff.
Okay, so you do understand that. I would say that might be one of the most confusing things for me to explain is what this stimulator does. And for our listeners listening right now that don't understand what we're talking about, so I have a battery that's installed into my back, very similar to a pacemaker battery, same size, kind of like a small hockey puck that's connected to wires that have leads at the end of it. And those leads emit a vibration to try to distract your brain and your body from whatever pain that you're feeling. And depending on where the lead is depending on where you're going to feel that vibration. So if you know what a TENS unit is, that's TENS, TENS unit is, it kind of just, you put pads on your muscles and it vibrates a lot and it contracts a lot. So we have a spinal cord stimulator TENS unit built into us, and it just allows, my controller's in the other room, but it allows me to turn this on. And when I turn it on, I feel vibration in my legs and it hurts. Like, it's kind of annoying to feel, especially the higher that I go, but it feels better than the pain, the burning, the stabbing, the electrical shocking that I feel that my body is producing. So I am fighting pain with pain, but again, the medication didn't do anything for me. The lidocaine infusions didn't do anything for me. We're talking currently about ketamine infusions in the future, hoping that maybe that will help. I am not too hopeful on it, obviously, because of my track history. Like, I'm the type of guy that, like, unless I see it happen, I don't believe it, right? So I feel like we'll try the ketamine. It might just get me really freaking high for a couple hours, and then I go home and I'm like, I don't want to ever do that again, right? So
yeah.
then that's sort of where we're at.
My husband's done multiple day continuous ketamine things.
Yeah, like a 5-day treatment or whatever, the 35-day treatment. Okay.
And it helped him reduce his medication dosage.
Nice. I heard amazing things, because that was my big thing with the doctor. My big thing with the doctor was like, dude, I did lidocaine infusions. I didn't like the way it made me feel. It didn't do anything for me. And he was like, ketamine is totally different, man. He goes, you're going to be hallucinating. I will tell you that. The high that you feel, I'm like, I'm not excited. I'm going to throw up. I don't like that at all. I don't like the feeling of being high.
Yeah.
But he was like, the long-term effects that ketamine has known to have on nerve pain are there, though. Like, it's well known that ketamine is pretty good.
Well, it does something to the brain receptors that helps. And it is a person by person situation. Like, we wouldn't probably go down the path again with Tim, but it's still, he's done it multiple times, and it wasn't a miracle, because sometimes when you're in the sort of pain that you and Tim are in, you'd like a miracle.
Yeah.
Like, one could just pass by and just decide to pick you, and it'd be great.
Yeah. I said to you last time we talked, like, sometimes I have this thought, especially in the very beginning of all this happening to me, where I just woke up like this. Who's to say I can't just not wake up like this? Right? Like, it's almost this like, well, I woke up and never walked, like I didn't walk. Like, who's to say I don't wake up and one of my legs starts working? And this is this like false hope that I have. It still, I think, 2% in my mind somewhere, like, hey, maybe it might happen again, or maybe it might happen.
Well, I mean, I think if there's a gradual healing that's happening naturally, and with all of the research that's being done by different branches of the medical system regards to, especially with regards to spinal injury. There could be within your lifetime something that is possible to, minimum reduce your pain.
Mhm.
But I think it's wonderful that you've got the leg braces that assist you in being able to be upright.
Yeah, they're very, very cool. I should use them more often. I lost like 100 pounds and I don't fit in them anymore, but they still do the job. Like they're just loose on my leg. I think with me, the biggest thing is I don't like doing it alone. I don't want to do it alone and then fall backwards and then really
Yeah,
hurt myself, right?
yeah,
So like I live alone and again, like to put those on, I'm just like, man, like I could sit here. The safest way for me to do it would be to put them on in bed and then stand up in front of my bed. That way if I did fall, because I have a walker in front of me, that way if I did fall backwards, I would just be falling onto my bed. But like how long do I just want to stand there looking at nothing for?
yeah,
Right? Like it
yeah,
only comes like they're great and they're amazing and I should definitely use them more, but I think I'm just like I'm nervous when it comes to using them by myself. If I had someone living
yeah,
with me or someone over or whatever, right? Like I love it. And I think that they're a great piece of machinery, like a piece of whatever they are. Like I think that they're good. If I were to get resized for them now with my leg size and my body size now, they would actually be better because there would be less brackets. There is a bracket that's between the legs. There's one between the legs and then one on the outside of the legs that hold your legs straight. But because I was so heavy, we had to have both brackets. They were telling me, sorry, when I would use them, the inside brackets would hit. And I was like, why do I have to have these in there? And they said, because you're so heavy, man. Like, because you're so
right,
heavy, if you were to lose weight, we wouldn't have that second bracket in the middle and you'd have
yeah,
more freedom to be able to walk. Like my steps were very like wide almost with them and I'd be using my hips to turn the legs. Like I don't have any
right.
function in my legs, right? So
I'm
it was
seeing
very cool.
Transformer.
Yeah, it's full transformer. But again, like it
Yeah,
looks awesome. Like I'm 6'2". Like I can stand up and be this big human that I am. But again, the bigger you are, the harder you fall. So like I don't
yeah,
want to fall alone. And then
no,
like now I'm more paralyzed than I already am. I don't
yeah,
even right. Like, I don't want to
no,
mess myself up even more. But they are great. Like they're freaking awesome.
yeah. So, like, getting to the financial situation, does the medical system in Canada like assist you? Would they assist you with getting those resized, or are you kind of on your own?
Yeah, so I think in the beginning when I first got I would had to ask them about resizing, but when I first got them, I had to go this like through this application process through the ODSP, which is the Ontario Disability Plan. They ended up covering them, but like I was told very often that they were like 9 grand. They were like $9,000. So if I would ever break them or whatever, that they're very expensive. It would be cool if I can go back and be like, "Hey, I have these, like, I need to get resized. Can you resize these ones?" Or figure out if I can get another pair,
Mm.
but
Yeah,
they nothing's really covered, I gotta be honest, for a place that has, like, free healthcare in Canada, like, it's not my hospital stay was covered, which is
yeah,
incredible, like, I would
yeah,
probably be in debt for the rest of my life if I was in the States for 7 months in hospital and then rehab after, would never see the light of day again when it came to my
yeah,
debt, which is
yeah,
great, but, like, my medication's not covered,
yeah,
anything extra is not covered. There are things that I'm learning about where I'm just like, holy crap, like we don't anything disability related's not covered. Like if I needed catheters, that's not covered. If I needed anything to do with my wheelchair, it's not covered. There is a program where every 5 years you can get a new chair. But again, you got to make sure you maintain that chair for 5 years, right? Like, so I'm in my chair right now for about 2.5 years. And I'm like, holy moly, like I really got to buy some parts for this thing and make sure it doesn't fall apart on me. Because by that 4 year marker, you're like, man, I don't think that this thing is going to survive another year, right? Like
yeah,
you have to
yeah,
kind of advocate. And if I have someone fix my chair for me, or there be a weld or whatever it might be, a spoke breaks, I got to buy it, right? And there's a lot of things that I am so surprised of. Like for driving. Like driving for me to get my hand controls in my car is not covered. That was not covered. That was 5 grand for me to do that. Like
and it's not covered.
It's not covered at all. Like, it's not to put hand controls in any vehicle. You had to go through like a course to learn how to use them. You had to get a prescription from a doctor to say that you can use them. And then you had to pay for the actual piece and then the installation. And the installation is like $1,500 just to install it, because there's not a bunch of auto mechanics that can do that. It's like a special thing. And when I asked people, like, why the hell is it not covered? Like, why wouldn't you want us to be on the roads and like being more independent and like working potentially?
Yeah.
And
Well,
they said,
I mean, that's right.
the biggest thing, right? They said, no, we provide you with like buses. They're like, they're city buses, man. Like that's how they, yeah. So like, no, you can take the city bus, man. Like, I'm like, no, that's great. Like, I get it. That's how you guys have covered your bases and your asses, and not having to, help the disabled group of individuals. Like, if I didn't have an extra $5,000 in my savings account from when I was able-bodied working my ass off, I would have never been able to drive. The driving is my biggest independence. I'm going to a basketball tournament after this podcast, and I'm driving to Toronto, and I have to drive back home and I have all my stuff with me. I would have never had basketball without driving. Right? Like, the amount of things that I have just through driving is insane. I'm not asking for you guys to pay for my insurance or my gas or my car.
No.
What I'm saying is this attachment that I need, that nobody else in their freaking minds would need.
Yeah.
Like, I need help with it, right? It's the same thing with my wheels. So I recently went to go get my basketball wheels. And again, there would be the same wheels that I would use for my basketball chair, for my day chair. I went to go get the wheels trued. Do you know what that is? Where they tighten up the spokes.
Yeah.
So I had 3 spokes break, and I had to get my wheel trued. Altogether, it ended up being $75. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, I just kind of sat in my car, was just like, man, I just paid $75 for a new pair of laces, essentially.
Exactly.
And the only reason why I didn't get a new pair of shoes for wheels is because my wheels are $3,000. They're $3,000 just for the wheel, not for the rubber, not for the insert, for the rim and the push rim itself and the spokes. $3,000. Like, that's where I'm just like, what? This is so back asswards, man. Like, none of my friends' shoes are $3,000. And if they're $3,000, if someone is buying a $3,000 pair of shoes, they are in a glass box rotating in a freaking museum. Like, they're not touching those things. Like, they're like pieces of collector items. I'm like, no, I need them to move. Like, I need them to operate my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. I listen to like all the different equipment that you talk about, and it's like, yeah. So I've got I've got 2 walkers and a wheelchair and a ride on scooter.
Yeah.
Fortunately, right now I'm not having to use anything but the walking stick and the wheel and the walker. But that's because I'm going through a good shot, and there's no guarantee with my condition. There's no guarantee that is going to be what tomorrow looks like. Right? It is a day. I woke up this morning pumped for this conversation, and that's what I'm highlighting for today. And I'll worry about walking later. That'll happen. But
live in the
I'm
moment.
really curious. So you are using your story, your experience of life, to be a disability advocate and to be all over social media, to be an expert. But we were talking about like the idea of sharing your story, and you said like you were worried about sharing your story to people because there's no drink drive, there's no anything anybody can do to stop it happening. It's a bit like a lottery.
Yeah. That's a big part of, like, again, I would love to, as much as I make content, I say all the time, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, I literally am just pulling my phone out and I'm recording my day. If I have an opinion on something, if I see a video, or I don't know, I really don't know what I'm doing with the content creation, but I know one thing, and that's I'm very consistent. I just stay consistent. And even if I don't know what I'm posting something. and I try to relate it towards disability as much as possible.
The post the other day I saw was you were don't touch, right? It was the message was don't touch. So
Right.
so the girl had her insulin or like her glucose measure thing. So I wear those
Okay.
because my body just doesn't know which way it's going. And so I wear those, and my grandchildren touch them and go try to pull them out.
Yeah, you're like, no, don't do that. So my story, like you had mentioned, like my biggest fear with this is that as much as I'm trying to be a disability advocate, I'm truly just a guy living in a wheelchair and pulling my phone out and talking to it. And people can relate to that, which I think is super, super cool. But when I think about talking to like the public, if I go to like a school and do assemblies, it just seems I'm scared of it because I don't have a story that's like, I got shot or I got hurt, I fell, I was in a car accident, don't do this, don't drink and drive, don't gun violence is bad, like whatever it might mean. There's no message. There's no message in the end. Like I truly like, if you really sit there and think about it, I could go up there and say, I just woke up like this. And that's actually my story. And then I don't have a solution for you guys. And I'm sorry because I've never done it before, but I already know that if I was a kid and I heard this from someone that looked like me, I would be like, how did that happen? How do I prevent that from happening? And, you know, what can you do to prevent that from happening? And I don't have an answer for any of that. Like, I don't have an answer for any of that. It truly is like, hey guys, something crazy happened to me. I can't explain it, but it's the in-between I can explain. It's the in-between I can do all day. I don't know why it happened. It just did. I can live a great life and here's everything that I've done, but I can't tell you how to prevent this from happening. And that I think as a public speaker, I think it's good that I can talk about living life in a chair and doing it well, but I don't have any beginning and end. Like you kind of gotta have like a solution to problems sometimes, or, you know, maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, so I admire you so much because of your mental strength, right? Because how we live every day is our choice. We wake up and we choose, you know, like how we're going to go forward. Like I spent 3 years lying on a couch. I would sleep on the couch so that I wasn't sleeping in my bedroom alone. I would sleep on the couch so that people would come into the room I was in and I had to share it with them. It's not good for my back, but I chose, and people don't understand that. But like that mental strength of having the life you imagined, whatever that was going to be, whether it was just going to be you're the leader of the tribe, taking everyone with you for this giant ride, like you had that ahead and you have not diminished from that for a second.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I think that on that topic, like I still try to be the guy that gets people together. And clearly with content, I have taken something into my own hands here, and created like a community within my Discord, and within really everybody commenting and being a part of my content. I think that me just living my life and showing others that it can be done is beneficial for a lot of people. I also don't sugarcoat anything. Like I don't there are times where I watch a video, I'm like, you kind of just tiptoed around that a little bit. You're a little softer in what you're saying. And maybe I was having a good day and I didn't feel like being an asshole that day. But then there's days where I'm just like, I am dying right now. This is my reality. I am dying every single day. I'm in so much pain. I know that there's tons of you out there that are doing it. You're also dealing with pain. I'm going to try to get through my day. I'm going to try to go to the gym. I'm going to try to do some meal prep. I'm going to try to clean and play some games and stream. And this is just like as much as I'm showing these good things, I try to make sure that I'm showing the reality of my situation. And that's that I'm in a lot of pain and that I am paralyzed and that this is not an easy life by any means. And I'm just making of it what I've been given. Like I'm just trying the best that I can with what I've been given, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And you're off to play basketball, which is amazing because the very first episode of Suddenly Different was with a para athlete, para powerlifter, Lee Skinner, and he waited till he was 40. So he 19, tumor on his spine, medicating with painkillers and alcohol, and then one day decided, with the aid of his wife, to go cold turkey.
Yeah.
And then at that point he hadn't identified as disabled.
Mm.
And then he had people suggesting, why don't you, get, or look at Paralympics or
Parasport, wheelchair
parasport.
sports, anything like that.
Yeah. And he was insulted. And then when he finally came down out of his, out of the shock of someone being brave enough to say something to him, it was the best, the most amazing decade, 3 times in Commonwealth Games,
Awesome.
stood nose to nose with the Queen. Amazing life.
Yeah.
And grandfather, just amazing. But he sort of, there was this feeling sorry for himself and medicating with the pains. So understanding that you use your dark humor and you use your expression through social media to share for others to see, but for you to release, right?
Yeah, no, it's
That
therapeutic. It's
frustration.
definitely therapeutic for me. As much as I'm, I guess, helping people, I'm also venting. A lot of this is a lot of the things I say are reminding myself, holding myself accountable. There's a video I watched 2 weeks ago that I made of me going to the gym and it was snowing outside. And I remember making that video and being like, dude, you're dying today. I was talking to the camera and being like, make sure that you get out there and regardless of this weather, you get through the snow and you go out there. And I'm actually just telling that to myself. And then I post it and I rewatched that video. I'm like, man, you are not talking to anybody else but yourself right now.
But isn't that the glory of social media, right?
Yeah, it really is.
So sometimes we disregard what we think, but we are the wisest person in the room.
Okay, I like that.
So you've now given yourself that objective third-party representation and seeing it. But, it's just wisdom, because I find it difficult to take, someone told me yesterday, with love, she was trying to help. She said, I watched this thing on Gia and it basically said, if you can deal with forgiveness on all layers, then the pain goes away. And it's like, well, maybe if you do that early enough, but if it's physically irreversible in your body, I don't know that you can do it. I think you can choose to live your life differently.
Yeah. There's only so much the mind can do. There are days that I catch myself where I'm in pain and I let the pain win. I will absolutely admit where I'm just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to smoke a joint and just sit inside all day. And I just let it win. And there's days where I wake up in the same amount of pain and I'm like, nah, not today. Not today. We're doing something. And it does distract you a little bit, but it's always still there. You're just grinding your teeth through it. And whether you can deal with it that day or not, is just how you go about your day, right? It's not that things get easier or that, that you can do something to make it easier. The mind, you're like, oh, I can think this away and I got this. Nah, man, it really is just I'm pushing my teeth. I'm pushing through this. I'm grinding my teeth and I'm suffering in silence. I do a lot of suffering in silence. A lot of time you see me at the gym or if I'm on the basketball court, and if someone asks me if I'm in pain, I usually say no. Or if it's someone that I know very well, like my friends, I'm like, buddy, I'm always in pain. I'm dying right now. Yeah. But if it's someone like my coach and he's like, hey man, are you slacking right now because you're in pain? I don't want to feel weak. I don't want to see it as a sign of weakness. And I'm like, nah, man, I'm fine. I'm just having a rough day. I didn't eat before I came. I had bad sleep last night. I don't want the pain to hold me back or people to treat me any differently because I'm in pain. It just, I don't know. It doesn't, I don't want it to hold me back as much as I can't help it. Like you said, it doesn't matter how positive we think about it. It doesn't matter. My aunt told me one time, she was like, I was in the hospital in ICU and she was just like, do you think that maybe you could have taking some more antioxidants. And I was like, get out immediately. Like, we are not classifying a lack of blueberries to my spinal cord injury. Get the fuck out. Like, there's no way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you and your boomer energy, absolutely not.
No, I fully appreciate that, and I think the immune system and the dysregulation of your nervous system, these are things that you can learn to manage, but it's very hard to diagnose anyway. Usually, I mean, how many times would we have gone to the doctors before the COVID period? We would have gone to the doctors and said, look, I'm feeling a bit shit.
Yeah.
Whatever. And they go, oh, it's just a virus. It'll last a couple of days. You'll be fine.
Flu,
right?
cold, chicken noodle soup.
Right. We don't know what virus it is. We don't know anything about it. We know that antibiotics won't fix it. And so it's not a bacterial infection, but, that's all they know. So, but I suppose COVID has changed the relationship with virus that we have.
Yeah.
So I've got some fun sort of questions that, well, they're not fun, right? They're probably
Personal.
Weird, but
yeah.
Most annoying, well-meaning comment people say to you.
Most annoying, well-meaning comment. Ooh. I got a lot. Of really.
Your favorite.
I think the most backhanded compliment I've ever gotten in my life, and it's happened a few times, is that I'm attractive for a guy in a wheelchair. That's that one to me, and I'm like, what? Like, what do you? So if I was standing, I would be less or more attractive. Like, I'm attractive. I've been like, you're sexy for a guy in a wheelchair. You're hot for a guy in a wheelchair, and I'm like, yo, what the fuck?
Come on.
I tell my friends all the time, I do this thing where I put myself in situations where I try to make the wheelchair not a part of who I am. Whether if I'm driving and you pull up beside me, you don't see anything. You just see chest up, and we have a regular person conversation. And if you're a girl and you hit on me, then that's awesome. That feels good. It's the same thing of when I will go to the bar sometimes, and I will transfer onto the high-rise seats. Like, the bar stools that are high.
Yep.
So I will do a big transfer onto the high-rise seats, and I will push my chair away. I'll tell a waitress, "Hey, can you put the chair away? Like, I'll let you know if you can bring it over to me." And in that moment, I'm kind of like, now anybody that comes up to me right now is going to have a normal conversation with me. No, they're not coming out to me, and they're not going to mention this chair that's just randomly sitting beside me. We're just going to have a bro-on-bro conversation. Or if it's a girl, we're going to have a normal conversation when we get to flirting or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But it puts me in a place where I just feel normal, and I know that they're not going to add this chair into it. Now, it's quite the shock when I get the chair over. I'm like, hey, can you grab my chair for me or whatever? But it's kind of a perspective moment for them where they're just like, oh, shit, like he is normal. And like this, I'm sure the sentence that they want to say is like, oh, wow, I thought you were normal. But like, you know what I mean? They don't know how to process it. Like in their mind, they're like, oh, no, wait, he is normal. But like, he isn't normal. He's different. But like, and it's the same thing with that backhanded compliment. You're attractive for a guy in a wheelchair. If you had just walked up to me when I was sitting in the stool, would you have just said that I'm an attractive guy? Would you have gotten my number? Would we have went farther with this? How would you have went about doing this? Right? And it's so like, it never just ends with like, you're attractive for a guy in a chair. It's like, they try to like justify it. They try to justify it like, oh no, not that it's a bad thing or anything, but just like, oh my God, like you're just, and they try to justify it. I'm like, nah, man, like I don't really, I'm hearing white noise now. I'm hearing a lot of white noise, a lot of ringing now that you say this shit. Like, that was a really good question. That was a really good question.
But like people, and the other, like, just as rants, I don't know what it's like in Canada, but like there's never room in a shop or a cafe or a restaurant to get your walker through, let alone a wheelchair. Like, like they say things to places are disabled friendly.
Yes, very.
Through the back door.
That's another thing.
Sitting near the toilet. Like,
yeah. I've actually went through like kitchens before Where they're like, oh yeah, you can get through the back door. I'm like, all right, cool, I guess. And I get through and it's like an actual kitchen chef opening up the door as I'm like pushing through the kitchen to get to the restaurant. I'm like, man, I looked this up before I came. Like it said wheelchair accessible. I think a
Yeah.
big thing that companies need to understand is there is, I don't know how to phrase this properly, but there's like accessible and then there's like full blown accessible. And like
Yes.
full blown accessible is automatic chair accessible. Full blown
Yes.
accessible is like big automatic, like you can go anywhere. The bathroom specifically can fit that giant chair to where it can turn around and you can park yourself in a place to transfer back onto that seat and then get back into it. There is not like, it is anytime, I'd say 90, maybe 87% of the time they say accessible. Yes, they have an accessible bathroom. Yes, it's accessible for Brandon because I am like popping up curbs. I am pulling myself through doorways with even a lip this big. It's inaccessible. Like that is like that to me, I can do that, but I had to like take a thing back and push myself up onto it. Like I had to do, I'm very handy capable as handicaps go.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not the case with majority of people in wheelchair. Majority, like I think I am out of the norm when it comes to the things that I can do as a wheelchair user. I will throw my body up and down stairs and it's not safe. It's not something that I advise anybody to do, but I can do it. Nobody wants to do that. 95% of people in wheelchairs don't do that and they will not do that and they shouldn't do that. Right. And I think that a lot of accessibility, like, you need to bring in someone. I was traveling to the mall one time and someone was building a playground. It was like an indoor playground for kids. And like, hey, buddy, do you think that you could come into my playground that we're building and let me know how accessible it is? I want to make sure it's good to go for everybody. I'm like, yeah, sure. He's like, I'll give you free passes for when we open up. I'm like, I don't really care about that. Let me know. So we start going through the place and everywhere I was like, yeah, it's all accessible. But not if I was in an automatic chair. But not if I was in an automatic chair. That was the sentence for everything. I was like, no, absolutely, it's accessible, but not if I was in an automatic chair. And he's like, what do you mean by an automatic chair? And I'm like, a fucking electric chair, like a big chair for someone who's actually really disabled that has an electric chair. None of this is accessible. And I think in that moment, he just clocked it into, well, it's accessible for him. A wheelchair guy came in here and certified the fact that it's accessible, so I can put that on my page, right?
Yeah.
But it was in that moment where I was like, no, man, like he's going to use this as a way to say his place was accessible. And it's not. Like I wouldn't send my grandmother who has a stroke and is in an accessible, like a wheelchair, like a big one, to that place with my niece. I wouldn't do that because she wouldn't be able to get in.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It is. I've just been given the rights or the permission to run a certain speaking event in Melbourne, and my number one requirement is that the venue is fully accessible for any guest to come, for power chairs, and for speakers to be on the stage, fully accessible, and for us to have a stage and not just a space at the front of the room where we stand.
Yes.
And that is the requirement for me, because I am not prepared for it to be lip service, right? Yeah. It is, we are going to be fully accessible, and we are going to have, diversity is not a plaything. It's not a toy. We need everybody's thoughts. We need everyone's ideas. We need everybody's life experience to be part of the soup of ideas that we have.
Well,
right?
I like that.
And if we can't do that, if we don't have those voices, then we don't have things designed properly, and we don't, we're not considering the little child who, has a permanent walker, in primary school. All of those little things, we've got to, having come from living 57 of my years fully able to 4 years of being disabled, I used to think differently abled was acceptable, but I've since learned that's not. So I accept that I'm disabled,
It's not a
but I
dirty
have really
word.
good days.
Yeah, it's not a dirty word. I don't think disabled's a dirty word. Like, I would probably I don't care. Like, I'm so laid back and lenient with that kind of stuff. Like, people can tiptoe around and call me whatever they want, but I know what
Mm,
I am, right? Like,
mm,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. I like that you had mentioned that you wanted it to be accessible for, I mean, all ages and all things. Like, I'm sure you're talking about Braille on the wall for people that are blind and whatever it might be, just a realm of disabilities, right?
Yeah, just to really understand and to know what support systems are around, right, for people. And, I yeah, I think that it's an exciting time. I know it's an exciting time for me. This is my, new beginning,
Yeah.
and which is exciting, and it's a part that I never saw that was coming, right?
Yeah.
So to bring the relationship between Brandon's experience and mine, I COVID vaccine injured, right? So my body reacted to each of my COVID vaccines to the point that it grew things in my liver. It made me have a neurological incident like a mini stroke, but it got worse, not better. So I have extremely dysfunctional brain waves. So I have epilepsy and I have dysautonomia, which is where your autonomic nervous system doesn't function. So I can only do one thing at a time. So I can't walk, talk, and eat at the same time
Okay.
because, right? Because the minute my body's trying to digest, it uses everything. So for 2 years or 2.5 years, I struggled with gut problems
Mhm.
because I was fighting to do too many things while my body was trying to
Digest.
digest. So then
Like,
I
you're trying
wasn't
to
getting
walk or
nutrients.
sing, you're trying to do
Yeah.
anything, and you're like
Yeah.
your body's like, "Hey, we're trying to do something in here," and you
Yeah.
didn't even
Can't.
realize, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's
So
amazing.
so when I stand up, my heart rate flies. My blood pressure is moody. My blood sugar, I can't have carbs and then hours later do exercise because my blood sugar goes so low that I could go into a
I was
coma.
gonna say you can go into a coma, right?
Yeah. So I was down to 2 when we called the ambulance one time.
Oh my god.
And I didn't know because it was just this, my autonomic system doesn't know how to work.
Mhm.
And so I've been in wheelchairs and I use a walker and I can't take too much noise. And I was like you, there was something in my system and my body went, danger, Will Robinson. There's something wrong here. We're going to attack.
Yeah. Nuke it. Nuke it.
And it looked like, in my liver, it looked like I had cancer. They thought I had a rare form of cancer. So they
Yeah.
opened me up and removed 120 grams. Don't know how much they sold it for, but, they
Pretty penny.
removed, and then they gave me the good news. The good news was you don't have cancer, which we know how to treat. The rest of the good news is we don't actually know what's wrong with you, but you could have sarcoiditis or you could have a rare autoimmune disease or you could have what Brandon had,
Yeah.
but we don't know. And they leave you with those words. And you then go, well, I know they say don't Google it, but if the only information I can get is to Google
Yeah.
it,
You guys aren't telling me anything. I'm gonna look my stuff up here, man.
and so it's like, well, actually, all of my symptoms fit into so many different named things. It's like, you know, the degree of difference is how they diagnose it, and they don't tell us how they do that. So,
Yeah.
but I like you using the resources available to me, the community around me, my strong desire to still be on this planet and to still have joy and make a difference is what keeps me going, and
I
meeting
love
people
that.
like you and knowing that I'm not alone.
Yeah. That's been a big
right?
help for all of this. A lot of what I do, especially on bad days, and maybe it's not the right way to think about it, but there are days where I am suffering in pain. And I will go back to a video of mine where I'm talking about pain and I will read some of the comments to kind of just not feel alone. Like, I don't want to read that someone else is suffering, but it helps knowing that someone else is also dealing with this with no answers. Right? Like, I'm not looking at me like, yeah, thank God that guy's suffering too. I'm like, fuck, I'm not the only one. Like, I feel so alone, and I'm
Mm,
dying and I'm in like a lot of pain and I can't move. I'm like, there's no way that someone else on the planet is dealing with this in the way that I am. I am a tough cookie, and there's no way that I can deal with this. Like, someone would have offed themselves by now. And unfortunately, that is the reality of the situation sometimes. When you look up chronic CRPS, which is a part of what I have, chronic regional pain syndrome, it is known as the suicide disease because it's just something that you can't take it. You can't take it. You have no means. If I didn't have the stimulator, I don't know if I would be here anymore. I really have no idea. Thank God I have it. And that's just not something that we need to think about. Right. But I think that people like you and I, when we come online and we tell our stories, whether we think we're doing something right or not, again, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm doing something right. Like, that is my response for the past 7.5 years. Anytime that I get a message from someone that is inspirational or whatever it might be, someone where I'm doing something right, my response is, thank God I'm doing something right. Like, thank you for letting me know that I'm doing something right, because I don't always know. Sometimes my clips or my videos are just gaming, something stupid. But even those are like, hey man, it's really nice to see you living a normal life, playing your games, doing it. I'm like, holy shit, I am not realizing how important that is for someone. You mentioned before about this, spoke to me really loud when you said this. You said that there are children with walkers and children that are disabled. And I think people forget that. I think that people forget that disability is the most accessible minority that anybody can join. It's the only minority that anybody can join at any point in time in their lives. I saw a video.
millisecond. A
In a
millisecond.
millisecond, it could happen. And I saw a video, and I watched this video 40 times. And it was this woman who was basically being like, just to let you know, children are in wheelchairs too. So why are we still making parks and children's museums that are inaccessible? Because my son would like to play on the playground and learn things just like your son would. And I was like, fuck. I was so happy. Sorry for yelling. I was so happy when I saw that video. I was like, you go, girl. Go, girl. I reposted it, shared it. I'm like, man, it doesn't matter. Like, if you're not disabled now, you will be at some point in your life. We had this discussion last time we talked. If you don't become disabled at some point in your life, you died too early.
Yeah.
That's the reality of this. You will need a mobility aid or be disabled in some way, shape, or form, whether it be you have loss of hearing, loss of sight, smell, feel, touch, pain, limbs lost. The list is endless. It's endless.
That's right.
Like, accessibility is so, like, you seen the movie Crip Camp? Did we talk about this?
No.
And I told you to watch it though, didn't I?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that movie will change your life. The emotions that you see, it shows what people like us were dealing with in the 50s, the 60s. And it's nothing, not even a curb cut in the sidewalk. And these are people that, like, man, without these campers, I would have no rights. There would be no elevators. There would be no curb cuts. There would be nothing. Like, these people starved themselves and did picketing fences and went so far to show, like, what the fuck? Like, why do we have to be segregated into this one little area for 1 week of the entire year that was the Crip camp for them to enjoy their lives? Like, why can't we go back to our regular lives and enjoy the things that we're doing here at this amazing camp, this place? And it showed them, like, hey, what the hell is going on with my everyday life? And I think that that's one of the, again, for our listeners, if anybody's listening to this that hasn't seen Crip Camp, it is a free documentary on YouTube produced by Michelle and Barack Obama. And it is one of my favorite movies by far. It's incredible.
I think that's this afternoon's viewing. So we absolutely could talk for ages.
I could talk for another
but
hour and a half.
You
with
have
you.
a game. You've
I
got
don't.
A game
I don't
to
have a
go
game
to.
till tomorrow. I don't have a game till tomorrow. I'm just going to Toronto to go to my hotel for
All
tonight.
right.
I got all the time in
Yep.
the world, man.
Right. Well, I am beyond grateful for finding you and talking to you. And I hope that we stay connected, because having different ideas so I know that your ideas will strengthen mine, right? They will. And that is the thing about community. One of the things you said earlier, I noticed when you said you were having a bad day versus the day, you said something, you said, some days I feel this way, and then other days we wake up and decide to get out there, right? So it's even thinking of ourselves individually as community, right? Is that I is alone, we are together, and with all of us to be able to inspire, illuminate, like getting on a tram in Melbourne. There's only a few tram stops that are wheelchair friendly, right?
Oh, okay.
Or walker friendly. So I don't know how they're expecting people to like catch a bus. I know, bus again.
Right.
Yeah, but we've come a long way. We have come a long way.
Absolutely.
But we need to continue, because I'm pretty sure that the expense of thinking and planning new buildings and things, it takes no more effort to consider disability.
Definitely.
Than I understand that some of the really old buildings, I can't remember what they're called, but the government heritage buildings or whatever, it's a bit harder in them. I still think a smart mind would figure something out.
I don't think any of us are asking for ramps in forests. We're not asking for paved forests and mountains to have elevators. That's not what we're asking for.
Well, they've got one of those in China.
That's neat. They're 500 years ahead of us when it comes to everything in life, right? I think that the accessibility that we're asking for, like you said, it doesn't take like a crazy mind to make it happen, or even much to make it happen.
That's right. That's right. So, Brandon, Professor Parks, thank you for bringing both truth and lightness and wit to our conversation today. I think that what you're doing is inspirational motivation and vitally important for the globe, for everyone. You are translating disability into something that people can understand without taking the pity route, right?
Yeah.
So that people are able to experience it and not be fearful and not be afraid, really. I think a lot of people are afraid of disability, that they might catch it.
Yeah, they are.
And for anyone listening, if this episode stirred something, please let it be an invitation to do more, to look at people with disability and chronic illness and see the whole human, see the good-looking guy sitting on whatever he's sitting, see the whole person, not just the equipment they may have beside them. And don't take this episode as a warning story. It is a real story, right? Really, things can happen. We are only moments from being suddenly different. And as Brendan said, it is likely that most of us will have something happen within our lifetime, or else we'll go too soon. So you will find Brandon online as Professor Parks, and I will put links in the show notes. Like me, you may become addicted. Not all addictions are bad, right? It's, it could be a good thing. And to you, Brandon, I'm so glad you're here.
Me too.
And thank you for showing up every day, even when life isn't the brightest one that you can have.
I appreciate you having me. That was really good. I'm really happy I came on here. I've done quite a few podcasts, kind of getting through this whole social media thing, and this was really well done. So I would love to continue having conversations with you, even if it means another episode or just
Yeah,
within DMs and whatever it might be. And for everybody that's listening, I appreciate you guys. If you guys came out as far as to come see my content, and anybody on my end, go and see Leigh-Anne's content, and really just know that we are trying the best that we can to advocate in whatever way that looks like for us, whether that be just to be a relatable person or to shed light on actual inaccessibility or just to talk about our stories. We are just here to be information for the rest of the world and whatever that may look.
fabulous. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I hope you win.
I hope I win too. I gotta, we were missing a couple guys this weekend, so it's going to be a bit of a scramble. But all I know is that I'm going to get some good reps. And then by Sunday, I'm going to have a very good sleep. We've been training a lot. So I'm physically
It's
ready for this. Mentally, questionable. But physically, I am ready for this. So we'll just have to see how this
fabulous.
goes.
Awesome. This has been Suddenly Different. I'm Leigh-Anne Sharland, and I'm so grateful you shared your time with me. If you felt a spark, a tear, or a moment of recognition, I hope you'll pass that gift along by sharing this show. Take a deep breath, trust your path, and I'll meet you back here soon.